Welcome to How to Sync, Store, and Share Files in OneDrive. This course will cover the following topics: comparing OneDrive to a SharePoint document library, how to set up the update and sync OneDrive on your local computer, how to navigate to OneDrive on the web and your desktop, how to work with files in OneDrive, how to share documents, and a few frequently asked questions. What is OneDrive? OneDrive is your cloud-based file storage where you can keep your work documents and other files. Saving to OneDrive offers more capabilities than saving files directly on your computer or personal network drive. Which files should you save in OneDrive? You should use OneDrive for your work files where you are the primary author. These include all files that you previously saved in your documents, desktop, or personal network folders, typically F or G. If a file was developed by a team and has many primary authors or was previously saved on shared drives like the H or I drives, you should save that file in a document library on a SharePoint site. Syncing means that a copy of the document is available on your computer and is also backed up in the cloud. In order to get started using OneDrive, you need to set up the recent update and sync your files. How do you check if you have updated and synced? If you have updated and synced, you will see a OneDrive Environmental Protection Agency (EPA) folder in File Explorer, and it will have a green check on it. You will not see this folder if you have not updated. You may see more than one OneDrive folder. You should always use the OneDrive Environmental Protection Agency (EPA) folder. If you have not updated OneDrive, you will see a pop-up prompting you to start the update. If you do not see the pop-up, select your Windows Start button and select the OneDrive application. When the pop-up box to enter your EPA email address appears, enter your email address and select Sign In. Choose the Work or School option and then Next. Select Next to sync the files and folders already in your OneDrive to your computer. You have now set up the update and synced OneDrive to your computer. You're all set to start using OneDrive. When you need to go to OneDrive, there are two ways to navigate there: via the web or on your computer using File Explorer. To find OneDrive via the web, go to the My Workplace icon in the Quick Links section of your EPA homepage. Then, select the App Launcher with the 9 squares to find the link to OneDrive. When you select this link, your OneDrive will open. You may use this option to access your OneDrive files from any computer with web access. You must first sign into EPA's Remote Access Network. You may also access OneDrive in File Explorer, the same way you access any other folder like Documents on your EPA computer. This option is only available after you sync OneDrive to your EPA computer. You may add additional files into the OneDrive Environmental Protection Agency (EPA) folder. Use the Safe Move method to ensure that the original date and timestamp is not altered in the move process. To do this, right-click on the file or folder. Then select Send To and the Safe Move to Prompt for Target and choose OneDrive Environmental Protection Agency (EPA) as the destination folder. When you use this option, you are moving the files and they will no longer be in the original folder. You may need to rename some files and folders that you are moving to OneDrive. OneDrive does not accept files with certain special characters in the name. In addition, if the file path name, including subfolders, is longer than 260 characters, OneDrive will not accept it. You can quickly determine which files need to be renamed. To do this, navigate to File Explorer, right-click on the OneDrive icon and select View Sync Problems. You will see a list of which files are unable to sync with OneDrive. Most of your work files are supported by OneDrive. Some of the most common file types are Word, PowerPoint, Excel, OneNote, PDF, JPEG, GIF, and TIFF. There are several ways to share documents from OneDrive. One way to share is from File Explorer on your desktop. Navigate to OneDrive and right-click on Files or Folders. You can select the option to share. Be sure to select the option with the cloud icon next to it. Another way is to share from the web. To share with one person or a group, go to OneDrive via the web. Choose your document and select Share from the menu that appears at the top. When you click Share, a pop-up box will appear. Enter the names or email addresses of the people you wish to share with. If they are EPA employees, you can look up their names. But for those outside the agency, you will enter their email addresses. They must have Microsoft accounts to access the document. By default, all files are private unless you share them or save them in the Shared with EPA Employees Only folder. Files in this folder can be viewed by all EPA employees. There are many other ways to share documents from OneDrive, including attaching them to emails or sharing from inside a Microsoft Office application, such as Word. Links to additional training resources, including information about sharing with people external to EPA, will be provided at the end of this class. We will now go over some frequently asked questions. First, are there certain types of documents that cannot be put into OneDrive? The answer is that most EPA work files should be saved in OneDrive. It is designated safe to use for storing PII, CBI, and other types of sensitive work information. Also, although OneDrive is not a system of record, records can be stored there. Work is currently underway to identify how files in SharePoint and OneDrive will be transferred to a future record-keeping system. Other technical exceptions include large files that need significant interaction, such as GIS files, and custom applications that require that files be stored in specific locations. If you want to put a large amount of data in OneDrive, more data than the available space in your computer, you can choose not to sync certain folders with your computer. This way, you can choose to only sync the folders and documents that you use the most, and leave the other files securely in cloud storage. To unsync folders, navigate to File Explorer and right-click on OneDrive, Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. Select Choose OneDrive folders to sync. You will then be able to uncheck folders that you do not want to sync. Folders that you unsync will be removed from your computer, but will be available when you access OneDrive via the web. Frequently asked question 3. What happens to someone's OneDrive files when they leave EPA? When an employee leaves EPA, the contents of their OneDrive can be made available by the manager's request to designated coworkers for up to 60 days after they leave. Frequently asked question 4. Will EPA retire the shared drives? The answer is yes. Eventually, EPA will retire shared drives in order to save money on supporting legacy and redundant technology. To learn more about OneDrive, or if you have any questions, use the resources listed here.